Hello everybody and welcome to Starting Small Music. I'm Justin McCormick and you're about to hear a conversation with an artist, musician, and music industry professional on their journey and how they got to where they are today. At Starting Small, we like to take you on a journey uncovering the untold stories of your favorite songs and artists. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
Just keep a smile on your face and it'll be okay. Try not to be bitter, you gotta do it either way. Keep a smile on your face and it'll be okay. So when life throws a jab, you gotta duck out of the way.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Starting Small Music Podcast. Today we have Dylan Williams with us, guitarist for Jordan Davis. How you doing today?
Doing great, man. How are you?
I'm doing good. Thanks so much for coming on the show. So getting right into your story, you grew up in Indiana. What was your childhood like?
Oh, childhood was great, very chill, kind of Midwestern upbringing. Grew up in a kind of small, medium town. Grandfather and mom's side of the family was into farming a lot, so I kind of got to go around on the weekends, kick around on the four-wheelers in the fields and stuff, but mostly kind of a city upbringing. Got involved with music real early and had a family that was very supportive, had them coming out to my early school band concerts and stuff. I was always really drawn to music. Kind of wound up being a first love that stuck, and through a lot of luck and kind of hanging in there, it's turned into a bit of a career. I guess we can call it a career.
Sure.
I'm not sure if I do sometimes, but always involved with it, and then wound up going to college for a music business degree. By then I was playing guitar. That's when I really kind of got hooked with music and became very consuming, and just spending all my free time practicing, listening to records. And yeah, a guy I was playing on campus a lot, and a guy I started playing with in school wound up signing a deal and got to hit the road with him for a while, and had a lot of fun, made a lot of memories, some great friends, and it just kind of stuck with me. I moved to Nashville shortly after that, and here we are, pretty much.
That's awesome. So when you were growing up, did you grow up in a musical family at all, or is music something you discovered on your own?
A bit of both. My parents didn't actually play a lot necessarily. I would hear about some people in my extended family that were always musical. It was nothing like professional, quote unquote. Not that there's, that means it's good or bad, but just people hanging out at home, playing and stuff, playing piano. I had a great grandpa that apparently played the saw, because of they so there's definitely kind of heard about musicality being in the family a bit, but it wasn't like a house where I was growing up, surrounded by instruments and the parents playing it all the time necessarily. For sure. So a bit of both, I guess. So even though music wasn't being played, actually, what was being played kind of over the radio? What were your parents into? Your first introduction into music that kind of got you into it? So in terms of appreciation and listening, my parents are very musical in that sense. They're both into great singer-songwriters, Bob Dylan and Billy Joel, a couple favorites, and they were always playing those records around the house. So I definitely, kind of more classic rock, but, vintage music, whatever you want to call it at this point, was definitely going around the house a lot, and perhaps influenced me because those were the records that really hooked me as a guitar player at first too. I was listening to Allman Brothers and Leonard Skinner, a lot of classic rock, southern rock, like Pink Floyd, Zeppelin, all the greats. So a lot of that older music definitely influenced me. Yeah.
So how old were you then when you picked up the guitar?
I was 16 or 17. My mom had this little old classical guitar, and she had taken some lessons on in college, and I got to picking around with that, and wound up having some friends that were playing in bands in high school. So yeah, 16, 17.
And were you guys doing covers mostly at that time when you were joining bands, or were they already doing original material?
Mostly covers, for sure. Anything I was involved with. I was drawn really early to be a sideman. I actually interned at a recording studio in high school as well, and got to know a couple local studio musicians that were working in Indianapolis and a little bit other studios around the region. And I kind of fell in love with that side of it. I wanted to be, I was more drawn to kind of being a craftsman, instrumentalist. I enjoy writing and coming up with stuff, but I just always wanted to pull stuff off on guitar.
For sure.
Primarily.
Now, senior year, you said you ended up going to college for music business. Was there anything else you were considering, or maybe even just going straight into trying to tour, or did you know you wanted to go to college?
So, in hindsight, I wish I had been a little more, had a little bit more direction. Personally, I went to school. It is what a lot of people were doing. Felt like the path I didn't have. Coming from relatively small town, what I get to do now, playing on some, be a part of some big festivals and do some really fun shows and been touring, for several years. I never foresaw any of that. Didn't seem to me like I would ever actually have a shot in the, entertainment business. So yeah, I was a little too shy or, a little too scared to try to really grab onto that dream and chase it directly at first. But for me, on the flip side, I think going to school, kind of getting involved with music in a safe environment. I was working in the recording studio, playing guitar for every band and artist on campus, school events, whatever. Anybody would let me get up there and play, I'd do it. And I think that was a good environment to cut my teeth in a bit.
For sure.
Even though it wasn't planned out very well.
Now, kind of piggybacking off that, we were talking before we started that I'm from Indiana too, and kind of I feel like going off of what you were saying, I feel like there's kind of like a Midwest mindset where it's just typical for everyone to go to college, get a 9 to 5. Did you kind of feel pressures like that, maybe when you were aspiring to go into music at a younger age, and how did you deal with that?
Yeah, I definitely did. I mean, I still feel that pressure. It's there's no such thing as arriving or making it in an entertainment business. Maybe not in life in general. I don't know, but it's always going to be a bit riskier than other forms of making a living. My parents didn't drill that into me too much. Definitely around the family, there's some of that. I always felt again, like I said, I was a little shy, scared to fully kind of be all in myself. That took a while to be comfortable. I still barely call myself a musician these days, honestly. Even though I've been fortunate to have some, neat tour opportunities. And I said neat, neat. It was neat. Yeah, that's a tricky thing. But at the end of the day, it's just a labor of love that I've never been able to put down. I think if I've done anything right, to wind up on a good touring gig and get to really do it, it's just it's more emotional. Even if my head's saying whoa, are you sure you're going to make a good living next year? What are you doing? My gut, I've just never been able to put it down or realistically watch away. So I think you have to have something, you have to have a really strong internal drive one way or the other to make things work out.
Totally. Now take me back to making the decision to move to Nashville, and those first couple months, what did they look like when you first get to town?
So a bit of a mixed bag. I moved into town fairly cold. I knew I had a couple connections that wound up becoming good friends, and as well as work associates. So I'd met a couple people on the road from my early touring experiences. Nothing was set up. So I moved to town 2009. It was, beginning of 2011, I would say, before I was really touring full time. Mm-hmm. So had a serving job, just kind of making ends meet for that first year and a half. Did a few gigs, but it took about a year and a half to really get busy. And even saying that, I feel I was pretty lucky. For sure. And then a couple dry spells along the way, but yeah, man, more or less I've been able to do this full time for about 15 years. In Nashville, it took a while to wind up on the gig with Jordan, which is definitely the highest profile thing I've been able to do. That was about 7 years in or so. The connections that kind of got me there, it's honestly a couple broad strokes from my very first touring experience ever. It's just kind of met, the number of people of connections that it took for me to get here, a very small number. But it just worked out that way. kind of took some years to get there, but yeah.
Now, did you start on the Broadway circuit at all, or were you just serving, kind of trying to make connections like for auditions and stuff outside of that?
I never did Broadway. I would be happy to. In Nashville, that's definitely kind of like a specific scene in of itself, like certain circuit players or like doing the different shifts and different gigs, and you can work your way up and do really well on Broadway. So, and go home and sleep in your own bed, which sounds great to me sometimes. Sure. So yeah, never did that. I did some gigs that were similar in terms of like doing, a 4-hour gig, multiple sets, and it's mostly covers. I have done that thing before, but just never done on Broadway.
For sure. So take me through like the audition process or how you ended up getting into Jordan's band.
Yeah, so I never technically auditioned for Jordan. I did. I have auditioned for other gigs before. And that process, can be pretty intimidating. It can feel like you just gotta go in with like even expectations and kind of do your thing and not overthink it too much. It's you're in like a rehearsal space, and there's like a couple people you don't have an audience, obviously. You have like 2 people, the artist maybe, and like a couple other people on the team that are watching everybody, and it can feel a little bit like a cattle call, a little, it's intimidating. But where I'm at now, I didn't audition. It was just basically from knowing Jordan's manager from other gigs I worked on, and they were looking to put together a band, and I was lucky enough to get the call and been along for the whole ride.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So what's it been like to kind of see the crowds grow? I mean, you're there, Singles You Up, like soars to the top as his first big hit, and I mean now he's gotten even bigger over the years. What's it like to see the crowds grow and then the people getting louder as they're singing the songs back?
It is real fun. There's no way to downplay that, honestly. Like it's just such a rush of energy to have people singing back every word, some nights, and really thankful to get to do it like this. Like I said, Jordan's manager will bring up all the time this moment when Singles You Up, which was Jordan's first single, when I was first getting promoted on the radio, and I was just starting to see that, starting to say, oh hey, people know this song. Yeah. And I'd played for a laundry list of other artists and never really had that experience before. So Jordan's manager always jokes around. I said something like, I didn't know this could work. Like, the only example I had was you doing, With Lots of Love and fun memories, fun music, all of that. But, I've played to less enthusiastic crowds a lot.
Yeah.
As any, professional musician or entertainer has, I'm sure. But yeah, total rush, going from there. And yeah, it's just kind of been like a slowly growing snowball, get more singles out. Now there's more tunes that people are familiar with. And it's all about having hits at the end of the day, or just songs that have a long reach, and bring people out, and they're excited to hear them. And fast forward to now, where we close the show with Buy Dirt, and there's kind of a crowd sing along at the end, and it's an incredible. Every night I'm shocked when you've got thousands of people, and singing that song back at us, and real special for Jordan, obviously, and for all of us to be along for it. It's awesome.
And then I don't know what it's like from your perspective, but I feel like Next Thing You Know is just taking him to a whole nother level as an artist. Yeah. I feel like anytime I turn the radio on, that song's playing. Is that the loudest one that's being sung back right now, or which song is like the loudest in the crowd right now?
Buy Dirt, like that, like I was just describing, that response is pretty huge. Now, caveat, that's also the only time I take my in-ears out and actually hear the crowd quite, so I might not even have like the best gauge in that. Next Thing You Know is definitely been like a game changer. Really awesome to have such a strong follow-up to Buy Dirt, because that was a big song for Jordan as well. And now we've got another one that's kind of doing the same thing by a lot of like metrics, even more so, growing in it was a 2-week number 1, which is awesome. So yeah, that seems to be taking the ball even farther down the field for sure, and definitely going to be a crowd favorite for a while.
For sure. Yeah. Now, you guys got to do something cool. You guys actually got to hang out with Peyton Manning. I saw one when you guys were in Indianapolis a while ago. Take me through that night. Did you get to have any fun exchanges with him, and what was he like?
Yeah, Peyton is awesome. He's is as far as I can tell, just salt of the earth. Really, he seems like grounded. He's worked really hard for his success, but and feels like thankful. And I got to witness him just as a music fan, because he was like hanging out backstage at a couple shows we did, and he'll even just be on the side stage watching us play, and just like any other guy that is in the music. So it's really fun to see him kind of out of his well-known element in the NFL, obviously, just kind of as a fan. And he's been super cool to Jordan and all of us on the crew. Yeah, that's really special to get to do that, because I am a huge Colts fan.
No, I'm a Packers fan, man.
Well, yeah, you're from up here. I get that.
Yeah, but you got the Bears, you got the Colts, Packers. I feel like there's so many different teams that you got in this region.
Yeah, and I like the Colts, I like the Packers and the Bears too. Yeah,
that's funny.
Regional love.
So you guys are on a big headlining tour, and you're also on tour with Dierks Bentley right now. But you guys have had the honor of opening for so many big people on tour, like Old Dominion, Kane Brown. Do you have a favorite tour that you've been on? Is it the current one?
So they, a lot of great memories from all these artists. I think the last couple have been really hard to beat. So Luke Combs last year, just such a great camp. Luke's awesome personally, and with Dierks, it's kind of similar, where just the vibes are great backstage. Everyone's cool, respectful, professional, a lot of fun, and I love watching those guys' shows too. Great bands. Like, obviously I'm paying attention to the other musicians in the group, and those last couple tours have been kind of just hit every base. Been awesome.
For sure.
Yeah.
Now, I like to close my interviews by asking, what's a piece of advice you've learned along your journey that you give to the younger musicians out there that are looking for some advice?
Yeah, well, it's probably, there's no secrets. There's no shortcuts to anything. You got to do it out of love. You got to do it because you want to do it in your room without anyone knowing. And if you are fortunate enough to have people, know and appreciate what you're doing or your music, that's amazing. But I don't think you can pursue it for that. You got to do it out of love for yourself. And then if you do want to make a career out of it, bless you. It's tough. And you just got to be ready to dig in and, have it not be glamorous all the time. Probably going to take a while for anything to really get moving. And all of that's okay. It can all be worth it and wonderful. But yeah, just do it out of love. Do it for the music first.
Heck yeah. Well, Dylan, thank you again so much for coming on the show. I think that's some great advice, and crush it here tonight. We're excited to see you perform. Thanks, man. I know you're going to crush it. Awesome. Thanks, man.
Thank you.
Hey, guys. Thanks for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Make sure to subscribe and leave a comment, and check out my music on all streaming platforms at Justin McCormick. See you guys next time.